Okay, so this week we're going to be talking about competitor analysis. Let's try to focus on that. Mike's going to go first. Peter, you guys can go after.
Okay.
24/7 Dance Force.
Okay.
Okay, so take it away, Mike.
All right. Welcome everyone to 24/7's competitor analysis. Myself, Jonathan, Lilith, and Bev. So let's get started.
I just wanted to point out that their whole team is here at the meeting. So way to go, guys.
Kudos.
Thank you. Okay, so the agenda we're going to do today, we're going to recap our customer analysis. Just to go briefly, we're going to touch back on that. And from there, we're going to identify the competitors associated with the customers that we've broken them out to. And we're also going to identify the competitors that 24/7 Dance Force has. We're going to analyze the competition, and going to present some opportunities and threats for each competitor grouping. Okay, so the customer analysis, in order for us to have kind of broken out the competition, we need to really start, and we had to go back and look at our customers and break them up into groupings. Because without knowing who your customers are and their groupings, we couldn't do the competitors. So first we're going to go back and touch about the 12 and under group. Those are the, mostly the customers all the customers are the parents. They're the ones that are making the decisions and pretty much telling their children they're going to go to 24/7 Dance Force after class or after school. And while we're there, I think it was last week, we surveyed around 7 parents, and then they all said that they were there from the windward side, and they were there mainly for an after-school activity. And to touch upon that, the consumers are the children. And then we're going to go back to the 12 and up grouping. Those ones we're still figuring out if there is a subgroup within that. If there are, the 12-year-olds are making all the decisions. We believe that there could be a little subgroup with that, with the parents are still involved with making decisions to go to 24/7 Dance Force. We've created a survey that we're going to pass out, or not pass out, we're going to put on their website for all the parents and customers to review, to submit to us, so we can get a better understanding of that group.
Well, Mike, I think you froze. Hello, Mike?
Silence.
Talk again.
Hello?
Looks like you're frozen. Yeah, it looks like you're frozen. Yeah. Okay, says Mike left the meeting. Try to log back in again. Okay, we're handling the situation. It might have something to do with Shauna's wireless. Mike, okay, Mike, you're back on.
Okay, my bad. Oh,
Yeah.
Where did I stop?
You stopped when you talked to.
Oh.
Hold up. Okay, so you stopped when you started talking about the 12 and up.
Okay. All right, since I'm back, everyone's there? Okay. I guess we stopped at the 12 and up, so we're going to recap the 12 and up again.
I don't see your screen.
That group, we're still defining who is in
start
within
sharing
that
the
group.
screen again, Mike.
12-year-olds that are making decisions, or we believe that there's
Mike.
also a parents
I'll go
are
get him.
involved
Yeah, I'll get him.
in making decisions to go to 24/7 task force.
Share your screen.
Oh, what? Oh my gosh.
You guys can't see.
Oh.
You should be able to see what he's showing everybody else.
Oh, it's the internet.
Now you can see it.
All right, yeah. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, so so we started a survey. We created a survey that we're going to launch on their website, so the customers, the parents, and the children will answer some questions, so we can really identify that group. And
Excuse me, Mike, just a
there
quick
could be
question.
also more competitors within that group when we identify who's really making decisions within that group. And also the Heartbeat group, the nonprofit part of 24/7, that also is another customer base, because they require different needs and services.
Okay. Hold on, Mike. Dr. Friedman, you had a question?
Right, I had a question.
Oh, sorry, my thing was on mute. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah. What was the purpose of the survey?
The purpose of the survey is really to help us identify who we're dealing with and the customers, and who's making the decisions within the groups, especially the 12 and up plus group.
You mean like the purchase decision?
Well, like how far, or
I
don't have the survey in front of me, but
Yeah. It might be, I'd like to see it at some point. Maybe you could just shoot it to me at some point, because, you know, you don't want to go to, I mean, and I guess putting it on the website, how is it that people are going to participate?
well, they're going to send out an email to all their customer base.
Oh, okay.
And some of the questions we had were like, who of the following made the decision to come to 24/7 dance force? The parents, the children, or was it like a mutual decision?
Uh-huh.
How long have you been coming to 24/7 dance force? Stuff like that. Where you live.
And they don't keep any database on their customers.
No,
so
their database is great. They don't even have their database. It's just a month. Their birth date is just month and day. They don't even have a year.
Okay. Okay.
So we're just trying to really identify who they are.
Okay. Got it.
And it defines the demographics too.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay.
Mike,
Yes.
can you go back to the previous slide, and then can you further or let us know what or why you chose 3 separate customer groups? I understand that they have different needs, but can you say why the distinction between the 3?
The 12 and under was definitely more of a after-school activity grouping. And then the 12 and up were really wanting to focus on their techniques, their dance career. If they feel like they're more into the dance, the next gen, they call it the next gen dance, like the hip hop kind of dance routines. And then the Heartbeat was for the special education, the special needs children.
Decision makers.
Okay, and all 3 groups have different
They all have different
customer needs, right?
They all have different needs and decision makers within each group.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so the competitors that 24/7 Dance Force had, they've come up with, when we were talking to them on what a competitor is, they identified as Marcelo, the president or the founder, identified Castle Performing Arts, the Windward YMCA, and Dance Spectrum Hawaii, which is also Kailua Dance Studio. Yeah. Okay. So because we broke out each customer into different groupings, we identified the competitors within each group. The first competitor that we felt was the strongest competitor in competition with to 24/7 Task Force was the Windward Department of Education's A+ programs, their after-school programs. And then the second competitor were organized sports, as in ASYS, AYSO, the Police Activities League, mainly focusing on after-school activities. Okay. And then going along with our second grouping, the group of 12 and up, we identified one of the competitors as the Castle Performing Arts Center. And along with that, other school activities such as football, basketball, ocean sports, around that lines. Okay. And then also the Heartbeat group, we also needed to try to find some competitors within that grouping. That one's a little bit different, tougher. We're still working on finding a competitor within that group. We're not sure where to find them right now, so we're still working on that part.
So the client really had no sense of who their competitors were?
Not defined. Yeah, they just thought originally they thought it was no competitors, but then
right.
I think they just kind of felt like whoever was like closest and within the Windward side.
I guess then the other thing on your survey might be to ask parents, what other options did they consider for their child? Is that on your?
Yeah, we have that also. We'll send you a copy once we get it really defined and.
Okay.
And then we'll send you a copy. Yep.
Great, but I think it's really who your customers are considering is an important perspective on who your competition is.
Yeah, so that's definitely. I mean, these competitors could be reevaluated later once we get the survey.
Right. Yeah. Great, thanks.
Mike, what are you guys thinking initially about competitors for Heartbeat?
We were throwing out ideas about Easter seals, and then the DOE. So
I guess it would be interesting to find out why the Heartbeat customers are going to 24/7. That's the parents, but why there versus other kinds of programs for like Special Olympics or whatever.
Right.
That might be interesting to find out exactly why there's, is there something about dance that is different than other competitors kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So that would be interesting.
Okay. So now we're going to get to the part of where the competitors' opportunities and threats, what the competition is doing that is positive or negative in the view of 24/7. So we're just going to identify, we're going to go with the competitors for the 12 and under again. This screen is going to show us some of the threats to 24/7. There's a broad range of activities that our competitors have, not only with dance, but there's karate, there's basketball. Also with their name recognition, YMCA is huge. When you think of an after-school activity, you'll think of like a big group like YMCA or a Boys and Girls Club. They're all, and then the next one is reputable organizations. They have been around for a long time and have a good standing within the communities. Some of the classes with the A+ programs also are classes. There's no cost to the customer, and there's transportation provided. And then some opportunities.
Mike, just one thing. I think this may be mislabeled. I think what you're identifying here really are the strengths of the competitors. We haven't gotten really to opportunities and threats yet, but remember, their strengths may end up being a threat to us. But I think what you're identifying here are the strengths of the competition.
So our task was to view. I thought our task was to view as these are the strengths of the competitor. So they're threats.
Right, exactly. But what I see here is competitors in the 12 and under opportunities / threats. Maybe it's perhaps just how you've titled the slide.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's the labeling of the slide that is
it's misleading.
confusing.
Right.
Right.
Okay. And then for any
Wait, so Mike, can you step back? So the YMCA is partnering with the DOE?
They manage it.
Okay. So even though the classes are at the Y, they're free to participants because it's sort of like an A+ after school care thing?
Oh, I'm sorry. There's two different. We're doing YMCA and the DOE.
Oh, it's separate entity.
Yeah, separate entities. Sorry.
No, that might be good to label it on this slide that way too, so we know which ones relate to the YMCA, which ones relate to the DOE. If
Did
you
you
can make that
say
distinction.
and did you say A+ is free?
No.
No. Okay, good. 'Cause I remember having to pay for it. Not a lot, but I remember having to pay for it.
I think it's more by the financial needs of the family.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And then opportunities for the 24/7 dance force, meaning that they're I need some help with the opportunities.
Okay. It's just talk about it's always happening in the world that can be positive or negative.
What are the opportunities?
Partnerships with the community and corporate.
But maybe you're not quite there. What's your next slide?
The next
You've
slide-
identified the strengths of competitors. And now what's this slide? Oh, so now you've done the same thing for the...
Yeah, Bev's going to help step in. Let me turn mine on.
Okay, for opportunities, we've identified.
Oh, there's too much feedback.
A lot of
You can
feedback.
talk to my computer. Turn yours on.
Okay, how about I go on your side? Mike? Okay, turn off mine. Hi, I'm Beth. For opportunities, okay, for opportunities, we're taking a look at the increased awareness that many of the reality shows have been bringing to the attention of the general public, and that's of dance. And with the increased awareness, you see more encouragement for dance and the want to dance. And so those decisions are either made by parents or students as well.
But how have you built up to this? Opportunities usually fall out from what has come in your analysis. I'm not sure where these come from in terms of the analysis that you've done so far.
Okay.
In this presentation.
When we
Yes, in other words, you shouldn't have anything in opportunities and threats that you haven't talked about before. So somewhere
in the presentation.
Somewhere in an earlier part of the presentation, I guess Dr. Friedman is saying that you should have mentioned these things, I guess, in the presentation part. And opportunities and threats thing is sort of like a recap of what you talked about already. So yeah, there should be everything on the slides, this slide and the previous slide, you have to expand on previous to presenting it here.
Okay.
Yeah, so
It's what's out in the competitive world happening, what's happening that might pose some opportunity, some good thing for 24/7, or what's happening out among the competitor, like the competitor environment that's a threat. So if if the state's gonna shut down A+, that's something out in the environment that might pose an opportunity for 24/7. But this is coming from nowhere in terms of the analysis that preceded it in this presentation.
Do you guys get what Dr. Friedman is saying?
Can you kind of like kind of like break it down for us a little bit?
Well, remember, opportunities and threats are things happening outside the organization that
So
pose.
like like we've been talking about the increased awareness.
Yes, but we're talking about competitors this week, right? So last week, it might be that out in the market, right, there's this, I think you talked about these last week, right?
Right.
I remember hearing about this. So this week, you're focused on the competitive environment. What's happening out in the world of competition for this organization that might be, there's something good or something threatening. But these aren't really related to, these need to somehow be relevant in the competitive environment.
Yeah, I can see how this could be opportunities, because you have to mention that if 24/7 focuses on the national prominence and, capitalizes on the increased awareness of dance, and the competitors don't.
Right. Our competitors don't have that. They don't focus on, they don't have any stars, like they call them the stars at 24/7. They don't have any of that out there. So there has to be an opportunity for us.
Right.
But then you need to have made that point somehow, so that this is about your competitors and what's going on with your competitors that poses either opportunity or threat. That wasn't established yet, right, in your competitor analysis so far.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, I agree that these things can be opportunities for 24/7. But I guess we should have mentioned before that 24/7 is a serious dance company that tries to elevate their dancers to national levels. Whereas, I don't know, how about the other competitors? They don't focus on having their dancers become national prominent stars, right?
No, it's more of a after school activity, or they're just putting it on for the kids.
So
right,
maybe
they're not as serious. Yeah.
So maybe what's
the word? Yeah, sorry.
Maybe what's missing here is that you've gone over the strengths of your competitors, right? But you haven't gone over the weaknesses, right? The slide before this was all about the strengths.
We need to do a better job of labeling and
right. Well, and presenting. So what are the weaknesses? Because the weakness of a competitor might be an opportunity for might pose an opportunity for 24/7.
Right. So like with the 12 and under, it's hard to figure out what our opportunities are, because it's mostly just after school activities that the parents send their children to. So
you're not obligated. I mean, there may not be any, but
right. So we're not sure if there is any. That's what I think.
Okay, well then just make sure that instead of not saying anything, then say, at this point we haven't identified opportunities relative in the realm of the competitive environment.
Yeah, understood.
Hi, Scott.
Hi, everybody. I'm just popping in for a few minutes.
Just at the end of our presentation, too. Good. Okay. So this slide, we really wanted to focus on the increased awareness, and what 24/7 can really pull from that is even they had a dancer from 24/7 was in Lady Gaga's dance routine at the Super Bowl. So they can really do a better job on marketing that within the community.
But again, you have to tie it into the competitors. So
right, yeah, okay.
What you just said is true, and you can say that the competitors don't do that. So that's an opportunity for 24/7 then.
Okay.
So have a better tie into the competitors.
Okay.
And don't talk yet about what they can do. Remember, we're not there yet, right?
Okay. Okay.
Good.
Great.
The other thing too is for future reference, I think it'd be useful to see opportunities and threats separately broken out
Yeah,
instead of.
that was.
Yeah.
I think that was a decision that I made that wasn't correct.
Okay.
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 And then the competitors for the heartbeat, like I said in the beginning of the presentation, we're still really trying to really narrow down that. We had the Easter SEALs, and what was the other one that we said? The Department of Education, yeah, the DOE. The heartbeat section is almost a whole different class because we don't understand it as well as we do the other groupings, the 12 and under and the 12. So, like I said, we're going to have to reevaluate it and try to get a better understanding through that. If there are any competitors for this grouping. And then.
So what are these? Could you just go back? So what are these then? This list?
We really.
I can jump in, Mike, if you want, since I did this slide in the last minute. I did some research on this, a couple of the things we were talking about, and this basically just breaks down, especially the one on the left, which is Access Surf. They have a program for disabled people of all ages, and basically the opportunities would be it's fun, water-based, and then a threat would be that it's infrequent session offerings because it's only offered once a month, where the heartbeat is offered, I think it's weekly every Sunday. And with that, it's more, fun-based. They're not learning anything really. It's just having fun. And then the performance, there's no performance aspect like what you see with the heartbeat. And, they're doing what was it, a pre-show for Special Olympics or something like that that they were doing. And it's kind of going in with the same thing with, this was the DOE, provides after-school care. It's more of an after-school care program. There's no need for transportation, but it also lacks what we get with the heartbeat. With there's no art experience involved. They're not really getting an artful experience. It's more school-related, I guess. That's kind of what I was going for there.
So we're not really talking opportunities and threats again, but more the attributes of these competitors.
Exactly.
But you can't really do this unless you know who the competitors are. So.
Right, and that's what Mike said earlier. We're still kind of working on that.
Right.
Because we're in the brainstorming data research space for that. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, we made it short and sweet for everyone. Any questions?
Any other questions, Peggy?
The only thing I'm going to say is, I think you really need to go back and ferret out the true opportunities and threats as they relate to identified competitors, recognizing that you're still trying to figure some of that out.
Right. So we were really trying to focus on looking at the opportunities and threats from the 24/7 dance force perspective.
Exactly. That's exactly what you're supposed to do. But I didn't see that happening here relative to the competitive landscape. So I think, and as I said, you said that in some places that was hard to figure out who they were. So you may be revisiting this. The other thing, just set me straight, isn't it the heartbeat aspect of their program that is actually the sort of most related to their mission, or not?
That's what they say. So the mission statement needs to be redefined to kind of get that point made clear. The heartbeat is their nonprofit part of their companies.
But that's a small part of the total organization, though, right?
Yeah, very small part. I think it's about, was it 30? How many kids?
15 kids
15.
out of 220.
Yeah. Out of the active 250, there's about 15 kids of the heartbeat class.
Which is why that really concerns me, that they're a nonprofit organization, but the nonprofit part is tiny.
Yeah.
Right.
That's worrisome.
The next session, Keto, that's down the line.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Wow.
So bad,
Jeez.
Tito.
Oh man.
Okay. Yeah, we'll send you that survey, Professor Freeman. and
Thank
then
you.
can give us
Great.
some feedback. That'd be great.
Okay, I'd be happy to.
Scott,
Thank
do you have anything to say? I mean, we're
I
on here
jumped in.
for a
I
short.
jumped in the middle, and I'll be leaving soon. But just as a reminder, when you're looking for opportunities and threats for 24/7 dance force, what you're then looking for is things happening with competitors that could be good for 24/7 dance force, or things happening with competitors that could be bad for 24/7 dance force.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I think you guys have to reword the slides maybe and focus more on the competitor part, because I think you've got the elements in there. It just wasn't clear by the way you presented it on the slides. So
Okay.
yeah, you needed to focus more on the competitors and how that relates to the opportunities and threats. So okay, good job.
Thanks, guys.
Peter?
Yes, I do. Okay, I'm gonna share my screen now.
Yeah.
Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Sorry.
My friend is texting.
And just to
Okay.
jump in here, as Peter's getting started, for reasons I'll talk about probably later in the course, perhaps, I added La Pietra as a competitor for Holy Nativity School to pay attention to at the moment. So the rationale behind that is mine, and so not that group's. I forced that competitor on them.
Okay, I'm gonna start. So this week we're doing competitors, and we have different competitors, but we're gonna focus on two today. One of them is Punho School, and another one is La Pietra, Hawaii School for Girls. Okay, so the first slide I'm gonna talk about is, one second, why is my computer? This one. Okay, so Holy Nativity is a school that's personalized education. So academic program is tailored to each student, not to a whole class as a whole. We met with Kim on Tuesday with me and Dr. Schroeder, and he emphasized that majority of the students do reside from Aina Haina and Hawaii Kai. So it is conveniency that brings up majority of the students that attend Holy Nativity. Small class setting, he also mentioned, there's about 2 teachers per class, or a ratio of 8:1. And it also provides individual care and guidance to students, like I mentioned earlier. Can you guys see it with the full screen, or is it better minimizing the screen like this?
Full screen for me.
Full screen? Okay.
Yeah, full screen's better.
Okay. And I also added in mid-pack, but we're going to focus on La Pietra and Punho School for today's PowerPoint. So La Pietra,
Peter, Peter, hold on.
Yes.
Just for clarification, I know the La Pietra was Dr. Schroeder's insertion in here, but Punho, is that identified by the school as a competitor, or did you guys come up with that as a competitor?
The school did mention Punho as being, I believe, a competitor and a customer, because students that leave HNS, Holy Nativity, after the 6th grade, do majority from Dr. Schroeder said do go to Punho or Mid-Pac.
Okay, okay.
So they're both customers and competitors for Punho School. But La Pietra, we found is an innovative academic and extracurricular leadership college preparatory program. They only have, they only focus on 6th grade to 12th grade. So there's
You
nothing
may
from
want to
kindergarten
wait. I was
to
waiting
6th
to
grade.
do laundry until I can have the windows open for the dryer.
Yeah, I thought I would just do the washing.
Okay.
You're doing
They're
laundry, Dr. Friedman?
Sorry.
single gender school, a 7-to-1 ratio, and it's pretty unique because it's an all girls school, and they have unique block schedule for each classes. So each class is block scheduled and promotes more understanding for these students. And they have different kind of programs that I found it was unique, such as international diploma. They welcome students from different worlds to their campus. And they also have something called Online School for Girls, which is an association for girls to go online to take classes as other ways of learning, such as online classes for girls. And they also offer about 30 plus clubs in their program at their school. And they have 16 different sports programs that's offered at La Pietra. I found pretty unique. And Punahou School, they base themselves as a college preparatory school, and they comprise of 3 self-contained sections, which is the 3 sections are K to grade 1, grade 2 to 5, and grade 6 to 8. That's 3 small self-contained sections, meaning that they have different buildings. For example, kindergarten to grade 1 will attend only these 2 buildings for their classes, and 2 to 5 as well, and 6 to 8 as well. And their ratio is 12-to-1, 12 students for 1 teacher, and they focus on global sustainability. And curriculum sequence basically is like they do more outside work and text work as well, textbook work. That's what I believe that means. And we also did a chart
Peter,
on
Peter, can I just ask
Yes.
a question could you just go back to the last slide?
this one, okay?
Yeah. I'm not getting a good sense of the Holy Nativity curriculum here, given
Okay.
what you've said about the other schools.
So Holy Nativity, from our meeting with him, they offer one of their uniqueness regarding their school is, one second, let me find. They have their academic program is tailored to each student, not as a class as a whole. So what that means is, let's say a student is having trouble with the math problems, and the whole class doesn't have trouble with the math problems. The teacher will tailor that assignment to guide the student to solve these problems, or find another way to help them with their math problems, while other students in the class don't have that trouble. So each student is basically tailored to their own need, where they have trouble in per class.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, you may want to make that clear. I didn't understand that from what you said here. It just appeared that they cared about their students
like
as opposed
personalized
to the more
education.
technical kind of description of the curriculum you gave for the competitors.
It's like personalized education at the most, if possible, per student. That's why they do have 2 teachers per class. So it's more personalized. So if a student is having trouble in math, the teacher will focus more on that subject area regarding those math problems compared to other students that are not having trouble
Got it.
in that area.
Yeah, I get it now that you've described it.
Okay.
You just may want to put some of that in your description here
Okay.
succinctly.
Peter,
Yes.
I know Dr. Schroeder inserted La Pietra in there, but why is La Pietra a competitor if they're 7 through 12 and Holy Nativity is kindergarten to 6?
La
Seems like,
Pietra is 6th to 12th grade. So I feel like that's it's going to be a competitor because Holy Nativity by 2018 they will have 6th to 8th grade added in their school. So
okay, but so later on it will be a competitor, yeah? But it
yes,
seems
I
like
feel
right
like
now it's really not, though.
no, right now it's not because it's a single
Okay.
gender school and conveniency doesn't really play a big part because Holy Nativity conveniency majority resides in Aina Haina and Hawaii Kai. So it's easier for
Right.
parents actually to, if they live in that area, they could drop their kids off to school and then go to work. So for Holy Nativity. Well, La Pietra does offer more programs, but it's from 6th to 12th grade right now. So I feel like it's not a competitor right now, but later on, as we move forward, it will be.
Okay. Okay.
Peter, quick question.
Yeah.
Since you're noting smaller class settings, have you looked at other schools like Epiphany, Our Redeemer, and St. Francis?
I haven't looked at those schools as a major competitor, but I looked at more of a bigger scope, like how Punahou School is a major competitor and a customer for Holy Nativity. So I haven't searched up those smaller schools yet.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, because to me it seems like these are all fairly large schools, and Holy Nativity is a really small school. So personally, to me, they wouldn't seem like they were direct competitors to Holy Nativity, but I don't know. Convince me otherwise. I don't know.
Remember too, I mean, it
Yes.
could be that there's some collaborative something going on when they look at these, when the client considers these bigger schools in the competitive landscape.
Okay. I'm going to move on to the next slide.
Yep.
So under tuition pricing, on the far left, Holy Nativity annual tuition is stated as $15,490. So there's a 6.9 change in the last 3 years. And the financial aid is determined through the school and student services. La Pietra, Holy Nativity is basically, I would say, the cheapest out of the rest. La Pietra comes second, and the most expensive is Punahou School, with the most change as well for tuition. But they do, La Pietra and Punahou School do offer merit scholarships. But their tuition is also, their financial aid is also determined by the school as well per student. So based on
Peter,
financial needs, yes.
do you have any sense for each school, the percentage of students that get financial aid?
That I'm not too quite sure on percentage of students that get financial aid.
It would just be interesting because we talk about this at Shamana, the published tuition and then the effective tuition. So one number is your stated tuition, and then most students pay something less than that. And I just wondered what those percentages might be for these schools.
Okay.
If I could just add, I think I read on the website that Punahou is about 86% of students receive financial aid.
But I know they have a huge chunk of cash that goes to financial aid. So, looking at the absolute numbers may be a little misleading. I'm just not sure, but more data might help.
Okay. I know Holy Nativity, I believe from our conversation with Dr. Schroeder, they're underpriced. The school is still compensating per each student at HNS.
So like 100% of the students get some kind of discount?
I have to go back and check regarding that, but I believe majority do get some kind of guidance or aid to attend the school. And here are sort of, on this slide, we have La Pietra's strengths on the top, their weakness on the far right. So I'm gonna start by their strengths. So some of their strengths include same gender education. There's no tuition increase from this year to prior year. So 2014, 15, 16, and 17, the tuition remained the same. Their student to teacher ratio is 7:1. Their non-religious affiliation. They have different enrollments at any grade level. Like I mentioned, they provide a combination of financial aid and different scholarships. I also mentioned they have different programs, such as 40 different clubs to 16 different sports teams. And they have different programs, such as the International Diploma Program, where they welcome students from all over the world to their campus. So that's their strengths that we found. The weakness that I also looked at was they only offer grades from 6 to 12. They do not provide housing for non-resident students. We found out they don't provide bus service. And it is also a same gender education, so they're not exposed to the opposite gender, and it's non-religious affiliated school.
Peter, how can you have same gender education and non-religious affiliated as both a strength and a weakness?
I feel like it's a strength because same gender education, maybe I haven't looked at the percentage, maybe students do learn better being in the same gender education, but I also feel like it could be a weakness as well. I'm not too sure on the percentage I haven't done any research on how many students don't learn better if they have a same gender education. So I feel like it could go both ways regarding that key point.
But remember, strengths and weaknesses aren't just what we think, right? There has to be some reference point, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so think about that.
And the other thing too is we only care about the strengths and weaknesses of the competitors in so far as it relates to our company or our entity. So a lot
and
of
how
these
they identify opportunities and threats. So usually we think
Right.
of a competitor's weakness as perhaps an opportunity for us.
Right. So most of this stuff, it looks like to me, is irrelevant to comparing to Holy Nativity School. I don't think you should only list strengths and weaknesses that relate to or become opportunities and threats for HNS. And I don't think most of these do not. So,
Yeah, because your point of reference has to be Holy Nativity, right? You can't just pull strengths and weaknesses out of a hat. It's relative to something, right? In this case, the competition.
Right.
Would their clubs and sports be a good strength? I feel like that's because HNS don't offer that many different clubs and programs to their students, and they provide La Pietra provides all the clubs and sports programs to their students. Would that be a strength then on La Pietra's point? Would that be one of it?
Could be. I mean, it could be if that would result in a threat to Holy Nativity. But I go back to the thing, it's hard to compare those because La Pietra is so much bigger than Holy Nativity.
Yeah, that's
so it's really hard to, it's almost like apples and oranges, yeah?
Compare the size of the school between each one.
Yeah, I mean, that's, my thing, yeah.
But some opportunities and threats we found for Holy Nativity, Opportunity is a co-ed school, and they do provide bus service. Like I mentioned in the very first slide, they're personalized education. So they every student, like let's say students that are that lack a strength in one subject like math, they'll focus. There's 2 teachers per classroom, so they're focused on their need versus the whole class's needs, and it's convenient to the parent because we know that majority resides in Hawaii Kai and Aina Haina. So conveniency is one of the key on why parent choose Holy Nativity.
Okay,
Peter?
but again,
Peter.
these only makes, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, these are sort of attributes of Holy Nativity or things that they do. Are those opportunities?
Remember, Peter, opportunities are things that happen out there in the world or things that the competitors do not do well that Holy Nativity could take advantage of. So first point, the point I was going to make is you got to tie the opportunities and threats into something. They have to relate to something you've talked about before. So, you know, co-education, that has to relate to a weakness for La Pietra. But then you mentioned same-sex education, same gender education as a strength. If that's a strength, then it's not an opportunity for HNS. So in other words, you know, opportunities and threats have to be tied into strengths and weaknesses of La Pietra. There has to be a direct correlation between those.
Okay.
And
So
again,
similar,
nothing that your you say they provide guidance to students. That is not an opportunity. That's not something outside the organization. That's you know, a speed bump or something that's an advantage, an opportunity. Nothing they can do. It's nothing about what they can do.
Would an advantage be opportunity be they don't offer grade 7 to 12 right now, or would that be an opportunity for HNS? They do not offer.
That's
grades.
something they can do, right? You're talking about what they do, right?
Oh, okay.
Opportunity is outside, something going on outside, right? So today it's raining outside. If I'm selling umbrellas, I've got a great opportunity out there, right? The weather has presented me with an opportunity.
Okay. I'm not sure if these are the threats then, but we found that they offer only grades pre-K to 8 to 6 for HNS, and they don't have tuition waivers or merit scholarships offered. But I'm not too sure if that's a threat then.
okay, so expand that and compare that to its competitor, both of those points. How do they compare to their competitors?
So HNS only offers from pre-K to grade 6, which would that be which La Pietra only offers 6 to 12. So would that be that would only be a threat to 6th grade, right? Because 6th
Sounds
grade.
like they're, well, yeah, I don't know. I don't see those as something outside.
Right, I don't either.
So
then,
if
yeah.
oh sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
So what you're saying is if weakness for La Pietra is that they only offer grades 6 through 12, then that would be an opportunity for HNS, correct? Or
It
because
could be
that's because they're not focusing on the same grades as us.
but how can we take advantage of the fact that La Pietra only offers grades 6 to 12? Can we take advantage of that situation? If the answer to that question is yes, then that is an opportunity.
Okay.
So can we take, or we meaning Holy Nativity, can we take advantage of the fact that La Pietra only has grades 6 to 12? Is that a good
Yes.
thing for HNS?
Yes, because that means that they're focusing on students that we're not even focusing on.
Okay. And that goes back to my point is why are they competitors then if they have two different customer bases? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'd be curious to find out why Dr. Schroeder included them, but I don't think they're a competitor. That's yeah, to me, that's kind of interesting.
I think as we from 6 to when whole nativity does go from 6 to 8th grade, or from 7 and 8th grade, it will be one competitor later on as we move forward later on when they
That's
do
right.
offer 7
Right.
and 8th grade services.
Right.
Right now, only
So,
6th grade could be only 6th grade, but you wouldn't send your kid there only for 1 year for 6th grade.
so it goes back to this. Is there anything that the competitor is doing, La Pietra in this case, that would be good for HNS's business and to expand their business? Is there anything that you can see that would be a good thing for HNS?
The only thing I see is the one thing I noticed is the same gender education that HNS, they don't offer that. So it could be an opportunity for them, for HNS.
If you word it right, maybe so. Okay. How about the
For-
religious education thing?
That I'm not 100% sure if HNS does. I believe they do promote religious education, but I'm not fully sure on what kind of classes or what kind of stuff they have regarding religious education. They don't really mention that on that website.
But didn't you guys say that they focused on the Episcopal
Values, yes, the values of it.
right?
But I'm not too sure exactly what kind of programs or what kind of things they do offer at the school.
So an opportunity might be if there's an increased value by customers for having religious and or values-based education. If that's happening, then that's definitely an opportunity for HNS, right? Because they promote that, whereas the competitor doesn't, La Pietra. They don't have a religious affiliation. So that would be an opportunity if people want more values-based religious education, then that's a good thing for HNS, right?
Yeah.
But that's
So-
not something we can just assume. That would be
Right.
something that would have to be
Yeah, to
researched, right?
Right.
We need to, everything we say should have a reason that we can like prove.
Right.
Right?
Okay.
Okay, next slide anyway, Peter.
This slide is Punahou School. So their strength is they're the largest independent K-12 private school with over 3,700 students. They implement moral and spiritual values. They're very transparent. Looking at the website and their handbook, you can learn a lot of different information about their leadership, their staff, and their curriculum, and many more different things you could find using their website. Even their SAT scores. You can also have a campus virtual tour online their website as well for Punahou. They have large leadership teams. They have over 30,000 alumni, so they have a large presence in the school and pretty well known for Punahou School. And they have been around for over 176 years.
Okay,
And they
so
also-
again, sorry, Peter, again, just like the previous slide, these only are relevant if they somehow relate to opportunities and threats for HNS. And a lot of these
Okay, wait.
may not relate to, how do you relate these to, HNS? If they don't relate to the competitive situation between the two, then they shouldn't be on this list. So keep that in mind, I guess.
I feel like Punahou School is more like a bigger scope of HNS. But HNS only has the most 150 students. That's what Tim said on Tuesday, the most 100, like no more than 150 roughly students that attend HNS. While Punahou is over 3,700. So for sure, you know, they have more programs. It's like a bigger scope. It's like you're comparing apple and oranges. I feel like it when we do Punahou.
That's what I feel as well. So how come they're a competitor then?
Because I feel like they do go to because I feel like because from our meeting with Tim, they said parents do consider Punahou, I believe, as
But I just feel like that could cost a lot.
where they go if they don't go to Holy Nativity. But we know more through the applications this week that we're going to get from Tim. Some of the questions include what other schools have you applied to and why you choose Holy Nativity. So from their application, we'll know parents' answers on why they pick HNS and other schools they applied to as well.
That would be good. Yeah, that would be good.
So this week we'll know further, dig down further, exactly why they pick HNS and why they want to send their kids there as well. And some of the weaknesses we found from Punahou School is their tuition pricing is compared to be one of the most expensive compared to the four prices I showed you earlier. And they have 4 applicants compete against for each opening slot. So 4 against 1. So you have 4 people fighting for that 1 seat in class.
Why is that a weakness?
Because it's very competitive, right?
That's good, right? Isn't that a good thing for Punahou? If you have more people interested in your product than you're able to provide, I mean, that's a good thing, right? If people want your product that much, that's not a weakness, is it?
It would seem to speak also to the fact that the tuition doesn't seem to be a deterrent, that it's a weakness.
No, it's not.
If you've got over demand, right?
Yeah, then tuition is not a weakness.
Apparently not.
If we were to relate it back to HNS, could we say that because Punahou, because there's limited grade slots for Punahou, that HNS doesn't have that same limit, so students applying to the school wouldn't be fighting for a seat. They would just have to apply. Could we say that?
Or something similar, because you know what, to me, okay, let's say for every person that gets into Punahou, 3 people are left out, right?
Yeah.
Is that a potential opportunity for HNS?
It could be.
They could get all the well, I hate to say leftovers, but they could get all the leftovers, right? So that's an opportunity, I think, that they can take all the rejects and bring them to the school.
So
I
in
think
that
that's
case, could it be a weakness for Punahou?
It's almost like that's
capitalize on that.
I think it's weird that it's almost like a strength for Punahou that yes can be an opportunity.
Yes, yeah,
Holy Nativity. It's kind of weird.
It is kind of weird, but I agree. That's a strength for Punahou, but it is something that Holy Nativity can take an advantage of, though. Yeah. So, yeah, I think that's an opportunity, that there's more people rejected by their competitor than are accepted. So that leaves a lot of the market to HNS. Yeah, I think that's a opportunity for sure.
Okay.
Okay.
And as far as that's, sorry, Peter.
As
far as the tuition as a weakness, could we say that because they're more expensive than HNS, that's why it is a weakness for them in relation to us? Because we're a cheaper school?
I don't know about that.
I know.
I feel like if there's 4 applicants fighting for 1 opening, they don't really care how much they pay for tuition. And if that's the case, there's more people fighting to get in.
That's what's happening. But Dr. Schroeder had a chat message up there that speaks to capacity. So maybe a weakness of Punahou School might be limited capacity,
Mm.
right? So if Punahou School has limited capacity, then that is a weakness. And that would be an opportunity for H&S to take advantage of the limited capacity of Punahou School. Maybe that's the way to phrase that, or that's the way to look at that issue.
But we're not sure of the H&S capacity. I mean, it's certainly, they have 100 and, what did you say? 50?
The max is 150. The max.
Right, so they have capacity limits as well, correct?
No, the max, actually not capacity regarding 150. The maximum students being enrolled in H&S they receive was 150. They haven't mentioned how much they could hold per. But the maximum.
Okay, so there may be excess capacity.
So
yeah, we don't know.
Just to interrupt for a second. So with the addition of 7th and 8th grade, they've got a maximum capacity of just under 200 students. So the maximum capacity in pre-K through 6, which is current, is 175. The maximum capacity with the addition of 7th and 8th, with 12 students each, is then about 200 total. So the issue for Punahou here is Punahou can't take all the great applicants. Right? They may have folks who are not great applicants, but there's a chance that they're needing to reject very good applicants. And that's the capacity issue.
Right, and that's an opportunity for H&S to grab those highly qualified but not accepted by Punahou type students.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
You got that, Peter?
Yes, I got it. Okay. And I think our opportunities and threats are wrong then on the bottom. But opportunity, a threat could be they offer K to 6 education, which is the same with H&S as well. So they both offer K to 6. That could be a threat for us.
Let me just add in one point while Professor Quito is thinking, and that is if we take this slide, so this is for all groups who are listening to this, not just Holy Nativity. So if we are if we are assessing the competition and we identify, as we've got here, strengths and weaknesses of Punahou, and we're trying to identify opportunities and threats, all we need to do on this slide is erase strengths and put in the term threats, erase weaknesses and put in the term opportunities, if we've done it correctly. So there's no, as I indicated in the lecture on this, no translation or addition or anything that's needed. All we need to do is change the terminology at the top, because the competitor strengths are threats for our organization. Competitor weaknesses are opportunities for our organization, whichever organization that is. Now back to Professor Quito.
Yeah, my quandary, I guess, kind of relates to what Dr. Schroeder just said. Again, and a lot of it depends on the customers as well, yeah? So the offers only K to 6 education, and Punahou offers K to 12. So is that a bad thing for H&S that the competitor, Punahou School, has a comprehensive K to 12 school? So Peter, is that bad for H&S?
It's not bad for H&S. Kids could still go there from 6 to 12 or from 7 to 12. They can still go there.
So, it all goes back to the customers, but do the customers perceive that it's better to have a school where they can send their kids for K through 12? Or does it matter to them at all that H&S is only K to 6 and then they can go to Punahou after that? Yeah, so it's hard to tell. It's hard to tell without knowing what the customer wants. For example, a lot of people would rather keep their kids in one school for the entire K to 12. If there's a lot of those kind of customers, then that's definitely a threat to HNS, right? That they don't have the K through 12.
Yeah.
So, but again, I don't know if that's true, if that's what their customer base wants, or if their customer base doesn't care that it's K to 6 at Holy Nativity, and they can just send their kids to put a hole for the 7 through 12. Yeah, so
The
it
reason,
really depends.
during
on
the meeting, oh, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
When we met with Tim on Tuesday, I did recall that the reason why they want to do K to 8 is they feel like students will learn better or will succeed better when they go to a school from K to 8 versus a school from K to 5 and 6 to 8. During that 6 to 8 gap, students will learn. I believe students will learn better when they go from K to 8. That's just something what Tim mentioned on Tuesday regarding students.
On the other hand, having to change school in 9th grade, starting high school, can be problematic. High school is a whole different animal. I had one of my kids started a new school in high school, and it's a tough transition. So it's just something to think about.
Mm-hmm.
Peter, do you see Dr. Schroeder's chat comment there?
No, my screen is full right now. I'm full screen, so I cannot see the sidebars or anything regarding it.
Maybe Dr. Schroeder, do you want to verbalize it instead of using the chat then, this point here?
I'm just, one of the things I wanted to note in this part of the conversation is as you're hearing what Professor Kito's talking about, and again, this is a point for all groups, so this is not a Holy Nativity point I'm making at the moment, is the discussion around what customers want shows you how critical it is to understand customers en route to understanding competitors. Because in some major sense, your ability to size up competitors in the end is dependent on having a perspective on what customers are looking for. Now, when you're doing this kind of analysis, this is iterative. So you're getting a first look at customers, then a first look at competitors, and then we're going to go back and look at the inside of the organization in the coming week. And you're picking up things as you go. So it's not that you're supposed to have a complete understanding of customers at the beginning, but it certainly tells you that if you're putting the finishing touches on your understanding of competitors, your ability to do that well comes out of how well you understand customer interests, customer wants as well for any of your organizations.
And part of that will be, you'll be revisiting when you look at marketing next week. So the recording about marketing is available. And of course, marketing is all about, digging deeper into customers. So again, as Dr. Schroeder said, this is iterative. You may be coming back as you get a deeper understanding of customers based on your marketing assessment of the organization.
So if we think about this from an overall business perspective, you hear on paper or read in your textbook and things like that, we have marketing and marketing research to understand customer interests. Then marketing research feeds into operations and figuring out what we do in operations. And then we go back to marketing to determine things like promotion and communication to customers. And now you're seeing that in action when you're looking at this transition from customers last week to competitors this week. And that chain from marketing to operations back to marketing in understanding these organizations.
And I guess from my point of view, seeing the world through marketing, even when you're looking at competitors, and we just mentioned this, so your organization may identify competitors, but your real competitors are the ones that your customers are considering other than you. So it all gets back to a really great understanding of the market and customers.
Okay, Peter, you have,
Okay.
so bottom line, rethink this whole area of opportunities and threats based
Okay.
on what the feedback that you got today, yeah?
Okay. Okay. That's it. Any questions?
Okay. I have a comment, Peter.
Yeah.
Go back to the previous slide, or
Okay.
any of the slides. This is a personal thing, but I don't like the look of the slides. Too many words.
Way too many words.
Yeah, so.
I mean, you could say Punahou's strength is it's huge. You know, you said that over and over, you know, in many different bullet points. They're
Right.
huge and they're rich. So I think if you think about what you're saying and see how you can group concepts and get rid of so many words, because it is overload.
So like the previous group had a lot of visuals and few words. I prefer that style. That's easier on the audience than a bunch of words on a slide. So think about, you know, like we said, these are baby steps to get to the final product. So when you get to the final product, make it more visual and appealing to the audience that's looking at the slides. Okay.
Okay.
Because this definitely is not appealing. Too many words.
Okay.
Okay.
And so I think about this, just to add in a partially alternate perspective, that I think of this in two different ways. So if this was showing up for me in the final presentation, I agree with everything that was just said about what it should look like. And at the same time, what you're trying to do for yourself at the moment is capture important information. So if you're using this form, this form is the easiest way for you to capture key information that you're getting at the moment, and you're going to convert it into a presentation later, then there's nothing wrong with this approach to me at the moment. But eventually, this needs to be adjusted for final presentation. So this isn't final presentation form, but if you're using this as a way to capture data for yourself, then I think that's fine.
Well, and to piggyback on that, and it did lead to a lively discussion, which is really what we're supposed to be doing each week as you present what you have found. So I agree that perhaps a greater level of detail at this point, you know, so that we can give you more helpful feedback, and you can think about and process what you're finding. But again, at the end, you don't want it to be this amount of overload.
Okay. Okay.
But on the other hand, it doesn't hurt to start developing the style for your final presentation, you know, along the way. So, you know, you have to kind of mix both of those, I guess. Okay.
Okay.
Anybody have any other questions or comments for the Holy Nativity group? Okay, if not, oh, go ahead.
I just said that was good.
Oh, okay, okay.
You done? Yep. You got a lot to work on now. Have a good week.
Okay, Andrew, you're up.
All right. Okay, so let's see. I gotta wait a second until Peter stops sharing his screen. I can take it over.
So just as we're transitioning, it may appear in a moment or two like I'm not here, but I actually am here. I'm just going to need to be writing on the board where I'm at while I'm listening and watching.
Are you in a classroom
Yes.
at Claremont?
Supreme multitasker. Wow, I am impressed.
Yeah.
And the students are off at lunch at the moment.
Oh, that's your all-day class?
Right.
Okay.
Boy, that's a quick trip because you're coming back for my class on Monday. Wow.
Yep.
Jet set.
Come back tomorrow morning.
Oh, my goodness.
Is that all day Friday and all day Saturday, Scott?
Friday night and all day Saturday.
Okay. That's intense.
Okay, so we'll move forward to the Chaminade Community Outreach Project, which need no introduction, but here are our group members. And we have a few slides here, a little fluff, just our competitors in context. So if we look at like-to-like, apples-to-apples, post-secondary educational institutions, some of our direct competitors would be our local competition that have brick-and-mortar campuses. And here are some of those institutions. Chaminade, of course, is the client. U of H, HPU, Hawaii Hilo, and we got BYU as well. And just for your reference, we have some of the tuition fees there. Our other competitors would be our online competitors, which there is, this would be a threat to our institution or our client because of the prevalence of the online post-secondary education opportunities. And here are some of the lists of those institutions. Some of the same players, you can add in Phoenix University there as well. Our competitors' enrollment, let me bring down this box. Here are our competitors. When you look at strengths and weaknesses of our competitors as it pertains to community outreach, enrollment is a key concept when we think about just how many participants can engage themselves in these opportunities and these volunteer hours or these different community outreach projects. So some of the strengths that we have are the enrollment size. So if you can see, University of Hawaii of Manoa has almost 23,000 students. When you look at a Chaminade that has 3,400 students. Even HPU is at 6,700. And so in comparison, we are on the lower end of the scale as it pertains to post-secondary universities as far as numbers go. So some of the other strengths of these institutions, their existing partnerships. Chaminade was founded in 1955. U of H is much older. HPU is a little bit kind of in our same ballpark, but with these existing partnerships and the annual enrollment size, they also have large alumni associations, much larger than ours. So those are strengths which would translate to threats to our client. Weaknesses, it's a little bit difficult to pick out weaknesses for volunteer organizations at a university, but this could be true. Large volumes often translate to difficulties coordinating singular activities. So if you have, so many different branches of a university, it's difficult to coordinate everything, where this may translate to a strength of Chaminade, whereas we may not have the numbers, but we have a little bit more manageable student body size, and we could be able to better coordinate these activities, these singular activities, keep focused, keep our our paths coordinated between all of our different programs that we have here at Chaminade. Some of the weaknesses of some of these universities could be location, if we're talking about a Brigham Young University up on the North Shore, or the location of the student body. From my understanding, we still need to verify this, but majority of Chaminade students do not travel across the state, whereas you may have University of Hawaii, folks are coming from the west side, from the North Shore, and because of their large student body, those students often have to travel in. And so that could be a strength of ours because our student body is typically located not too far from campus, so we can better coordinate those activities. Some of the other weaknesses that we've identified is that some of these universities, particularly University of Hawaii, non-denominational, there is a correlation between faith-based universities and volunteer activities. So that could be a weakness. And fiscal budget cuts. In 2016, the University of Hawaii system had a 10% budget cut, which translated to about $12.5 million. So when you're fiscally, having these cuts, it definitely takes a toll on. You have to make tough decisions whether pertain whether you're going to fund, a volunteer program, or you're going to, put computers in the science lab. So there has been some budget cuts to the public universities that we could see as a weakness. Any questions about this? Okay, we'll move forward. So this was put in by one of our researchers, environmental programs. And we're trying to get some data to correlate this, but I think the logic is there that there is a correlation between volunteer activities, particularly in Hawaii, and the amount of environmental programs that you have. So there's Chaminade has 1 program, University of Hawaii Hilo has 4, HPU has 9, and BYU has 2. And I put down here that other notable programs that see significant community outreach would be nursing, education, the teaching degrees, engineering, and then not-for-profit. Like I said, the logic is there, but we need some data to back this up. Our competitors volunteer programs, so like to like, these are some of the programs that are at each of the brick and mortar universities here on island in Oahu. You can see U of H has quite a few. This is just a few of them. Service Learning Program, Kupu Hawaii, Corporation for National Community Service, AmeriCorps, Hawaii Volcano National Park. HPU has the tutoring, language, and culture program, River of Life Mission, Safe Haven, Waianae Community Outreach. BYU on the North Shore has arts and music volunteer programs, athletics and coaching, community health, hands-on service, senior outreach, special needs. And here are some of the projects that Chaminade offers: the Lolo Pipeline projects, the Homeless Project, Project Shine, the Hogan Program, IHS activities to support Keiki, IREC. I won't even try to pronounce this one. Volunteers for Peace, Cross-Culture Solutions, and our activities at the homeless shelter. So that gives you some. Go ahead.
Andrew, can I just ask a quick question? Why was Brigham Young included, given that they're up in Laie?
I think when you look at, just the island of Oahu, they are a direct competitor as far as attracting student body. When some of our programs may not necessarily be on the North Shore, but I think because they're a post-secondary university of size, they were considered, and on Oahu, they were considered a competitor.
I would think about that, because I think most of the service programs are, in the community, and they are in a different, it's the same island, but
sure.
It's a different community, and I would think again about Brigham Young as a competitor.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. I think when you start going outer island, we got a little weary of it, but yeah, even the North Shore, it's a trek up there. So I would agree to that to an extent. So aside from post-secondary educational institutions, some of our other competitors, I know Dean Schroeder had asked us to look into this, is outside volunteer organizations. So in the state of Hawaii, we have 303 volunteer organizations that are fighting for the time of these volunteers. On Oahu, we have 209. And some of the big names that I've highlighted here, you might recognize them. United Way is an international organization that's dedicated. The branch here is called the Aloha United Way. The American Red Cross is another big one. Habitat for Humanity built houses. American Red Cross is more engaged in healthcare and disaster emergency management stuff. And other competitors, as far as just sheer volunteers and hours, would be Hawaii Pacific Health has a large network of volunteers at the hospitals, as does Kaiser, where I work. We have quite a few volunteers as well on a daily basis. We have about 12 full-time volunteers, so that's 12 times 40 hours a week. So it's quite a few hours there we're racking up. The Surf Rider Foundation, Honolulu Zoo, has a pretty extensive volunteer campaign. And the Nature Conservation Society, they have extensive volunteer program geared towards the environment and some of the outdoor activities. And here's the source from down here. So these are also some of our competitors, not just post-secondary institutions. When you look at some of the big names, the Aloha United Way is probably the biggest volunteer organization in Hawaii. Some of their strengths is they have an extremely large volunteer base. They have strong name and brand recognition, and they have strong community ties for over 100 years. When we mentioned that Chaminade's been, it was established in 1955, well, they were volunteering in Hawaii 55 years or 50 years prior to our university even being founded. And this is some of their numbers here from this year. They have served, are partnered with 342 nonprofit organizations and supported them. And this is the number of local people served by the United Way. So almost 1 million people. When you think about, you got to see whether that's this year or total, but when you think about how many people are in Hawaii, the fact that they've are almost eclipsing 1 million people served is quite remarkable. Some of the weaknesses that they're seeing, which could turn into opportunities for us, of course, they rely on donations and state funding or state. I guess we would call it funding. They do get a stipend in a sense, but fiscal budget cuts certainly are hindering their ability to broaden their reach. So, when I reached out to someone from the Aloha Way or United Way, they said they're trying to get away from the brick and mortar activities and be smarter with their costs and do a lot more activities online and trying to gain participation that way and minimize their costs of a brick and mortar, mentality. The other major competitor that I mentioned was the Red Cross, also have been in service for over 100 years of Aloha, as you can see here. And it has, I put the same exact strengths and weaknesses because it's very similar, large existing volunteer base, have the name recognition, long-standing in the community, and then they're also relying on donations and other funding. So it's fiscal budget cuts are always a concern for this organization too. So keys to success. So when we look at, Dean Schroeder asked us to look at models that would be successful. And this is United Way's keys to success. And one of their main 3 items here is mobilize the ambassadors, communicate purpose, and align volunteers with community needs. So this could be opportunities for us to, share selflessly and steal shamelessly. Some of these principles. So when we talk about success for volunteer nonprofits, we want to make sure we're establishing shared goals and deploying volunteers strategically to achieve them. And when volunteers buy into what's at stake, they become more engaged and their work is amplified. So I also looked up, they surveyed, United Way has individual CEOs at all their different sites, and like I said, Aloha United Way is Hawaii's chapter, but they surveyed all of the CEOs from United Way, and 80% of the CEOs surveyed said that existing volunteers making a personal ask of prospective volunteers is the best way to get new people to step forward. Existing volunteers can be effective ambassadors by connecting peers and demonstrating the impact they have. And so when we talk about the large existing volunteer base that some of these organizations have, it can be a threat to us, being that Chaminade is very behind the curve as far as our networking, our network, our pool, our volunteer pool. So having those individual volunteers act as ambassadors and trying to get more people volunteering is definitely one of the strengths of United Way. And communicating purpose. Connecting your individual work to a larger goal is essential. When people see the direct connection between their work and the impact that it has, they become invested and gain greater sense of purpose. and that's very true as far as gaining more participation. And then aligning volunteers with community needs kind of speaks to itself, but 2/3 of the CEOs surveyed said that creating volunteers aligned with community priorities would help the existing volunteers make a greater impact. And I think this is a great opportunity, especially in Hawaii, when we have all of the different community needs. We need to make sure as an organization that we are aligning ourselves with the community's needs. In turn, we could probably get better outcomes and have a better participation rate. As far as another best practice, the University of Miami, another subtropical climate university, has a really extensive volunteer program, and they go by this spectrum of service. And this spectrum of service is a service model that demonstrates the process of growth individuals experience as they're exposed to volunteering and become more aware and educated about societal issues. And the intent is kind of to have better citizens and better the community through their model of volunteering at the university. When the students graduate, they want them to have that, be in the active citizen category over here, where community becomes the priority in their values and their life choices. And when that happens, you less have to worry about necessarily organizing folks into or pleading with people to volunteer. If you have an active citizen, they're proactively volunteering or proactively doing initiatives that are going to help the community. So I think this is a good model that we could base our Chaminade values off of, and try to have this spectrum of service.
Andrew, or
go ahead.
Who is this?
Andrew,
yes. Sorry, I had a. So I think this is helpful to sort of reinterpret competitor to looking at organizations that seem to have their act together. Did you look at all at our sister schools, Dayton or St. Mary's?
No, I don't think our researchers did, but that's a good point. Is it Dayton? Are you talking about Dayton, Ohio?
Yeah, the University of Dayton is our sister school, and then St. Mary's in San Antonio.
Okay.
I don't know, how well their programs are run, but I'm just wondering if there might be opportunity to see where we could piggyback and maybe learn from what they do as being closer, in terms of values and mission as we are.
Mm-hmm. Oh, very, very good point. I'll be transparent. I didn't even know we had sister schools, but we will look into that this week, definitely. Thank you for the feedback.
You might want to confirm with your contact that would be a useful thing to do, or there may be, maybe, just looking at their websites or whatever, but to just confirm that would be something worth your time.
Sure, absolutely. Another, this is not necessarily, I'd say it's a best practice, but also some of our competitors are using it. Is called Track It Forward. But coincidentally, when we reached out to campus ministries, we're also using this as well. So just putting this plug out there that we haven't had access to actually log into it yet. We're still waiting for that. But this is the way that Chaminade is tracking their hours. And it's looks like it costs, I think, $1,000 a year. And it allows people to volunteer and log their hours. And it's just essentially the bridge that connects the willing people to these activities, and how we can just better keep track of that. And here you can see some of the other organizations that are using this software as well. Aside from physical or tangible competitors, I wanted to put this in here, but we would be foolish not to think about Hawaii, student volunteering or community outreach without saying, competing for time. And I mentioned this briefly last week, but when we think about Hawaii's high cost of living, all the other opportunities that are out there, there's more and more pressures on the student in the 21st century that volunteering sometimes doesn't play a part into their daily activities. So finding a way to compete for their time and make it worthwhile, make it beneficial to the student. Kind of getting some insight onto how we could make it worth their while, because their days are extremely busy, and especially for grad students. I mean, without taking a day off of work, I don't know that I can exactly volunteer a whole heck of a lot. But competing for time, employment, I think it's like I mentioned, the high cost of living. Chaminade doesn't have an extensive, on-campus housing. So competing for time, I would say one of our competitors would be, employment. Students needing jobs, needing money, just because of our high cost of living. Students that live off campus, as you can see here, Honolulu ranks up there with even New York City is lower than us as far as average median rent. Only thing higher looks to be San Francisco. This is in 2013. So, when we talk about off-campus housing, finances, competing for time, employment has to be one of them. And then because we're such an isolated island, as everyone knows living here, that we have, a lot of expenses. Our expenses everything's imported. So there's that, the cost of living is certainly a competing interest for students when it comes to volunteering versus, going to work a part-time job to make some money so they can buy some milk. So that's something that needs to be considered as well as a competitor. And that's all I have for today. Is there any questions?
Andrew,
Yes,
remind
go ahead.
me again, what's the goal of this project that Candace and Brother Ed and those people are trying to achieve?
So we want to better coordinate our community outreach programs and make it more singular. So we have focus, we have purpose, and it's not it's better tracked, and we have better participation.
Okay.
So right now it's each program is doing kind of their different things, but I think if we can consolidate them in some fashion, we can have more significant outcomes.
Okay.
And we'll do that through better tracking, through better coordination, and a little bit of marketing too, to try to get some more participation.
Right. Okay.
Can I just jump in real quick? So we do a lot of different, as you said, Andrew, we do all these different service projects and efforts, and they're happening all over the university. So there's a lot of tactical stuff going on, right? Mm-hmm. So hopefully what your work will bring to these efforts is some strategic direction, right? So I just want to make sure that we're staying focused on strategy, that our purpose is to come up with some civic engagement, strategic direction, and there may be some tactical recommendations, but you're bringing that sort of big picture perspective to all of you different analyses you're doing week after week, but what you will end up with.
Yes, I would love to say we could do everything and have more participation by the end of March, but I think if you're right, if we can just get the boat steering in the right direction, it would be a win for us.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yes. And I like the direction you took this week in thinking sort of big picture regarding competition for time and other organizations, etc. I think that worked well this week.
Andrew, I don't know if you have access to the chat box or had access while you were speaking, but go back and look at the chat. But Dr. Schroeder made a good point, and I think your project organization is so unique that I don't really think you need to use the word competitors at all.
Yeah, I don't like using that word. It just seems kind of, it doesn't vibe well with competing and volunteering. But
well, and it's also, I think, model programs or best practices or something is a more appropriate title for what you guys looked at.
I remember hearing something about there's some CIC. I can't remember what it stands for, but I remember in talking with Candace, she said there was sort of best practices. I don't know if it was a document or a list of where you'd find best practices, different schools or whatever. CIC, I'll have to go back, or I don't know if you've heard of it, Andrew, in talking with Candace.
I have heard that acronym, but I don't know that we've had the ability to access that document.
Yeah, you may want to follow up on that, because I think it has to do with this idea of best practices, and I just can't put it all together right this minute.
I think it might be the civic engagement in Catholic and Marianist universities document that she sent us.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so yeah, your guys' project is so different than a typical business-like organization. So a lot of this stuff will be different when you present it. So,
in looking, if you're talking opportunities, I mean, you're looking out in the world now and seeing how so many of the nonprofits are getting more support because of the political climate. I mean, looking big picture, we may be in great shape for greater civic engagement. It's just a matter of how that is planned, strategically.
Yeah, and you guys didn't specifically address opportunities and threats, but you talked about a threat. The threat of not enough time, sort of, that's a threat to having more people volunteer at Chaminade, a lack of time. So, that's a threat, clearly, I think.
Yeah, our basic threats are going to be, time for students, our sheer volume, our student body size too. We're not nearly as large as some of the other our competitors. So, we're not able to accomplish as much, but I think if we can strategize and kind of laser focus, our mission and our activities, that we could be as successful as some of these other larger companies.
Well, those smaller numbers should make it easier to track and coordinate activities as well. I just wanted to add into the conversation here that I didn't get much out of the front end information in this piece of work, but I thought there was really valuable stuff. Once you started talking, Andrew, about other models, so whether it was University of Miami or I think the Red Cross was before that, and so forth. I think looking at those developmental models or best practices was really useful in this segment. And then the other look was what's competing for people's time. So what diverts them from doing this kind of activity into doing other things. And I think, so I thought those were really good areas to investigate this week. And we could add in a subsequent iteration, see if there's anything good happening at St. Mary's or Dayton that might be useful, since they probably have similar inclinations toward community engagement, and see how they're ending up doing that. And like I indicated in the chat box, either Brother Ed, if Candace points you to him, or Brother Tom may have specific things that they know happened there. But I thought the areas of investigation and initial findings that you had in those last two parts were really, really good, and exactly on target for probably what you're looking at given your organization's interests.
And Andrew, I've been working with Candace too, and Brother Ed and Brother Tom for a couple of years, actually talking about this. That's how it bubbled up into a project. So if there's anything I can do as you're working week to week, please let me know.
Okay.
I'm
Well,
happy to meet with
can you put
or-
together the PowerPoint next week?
No, but I'm happy to go over it in its developmental stages, if that would be helpful to you.
I'm just teasing. Thank you very much for extending that.
No, I could meet you, in person or online, whatever would work, because I think you're moving in the right direction. So keep up the momentum.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments by any of the groups for this group at all? Hearing none. Okay, that's it for today. Thank you very much. Don't forget next week, listen to the recordings on marketing and operations.
Yeah,
I think those are posted already.
I put up the marketing yesterday, and I believe Dr. Schroeder put his up on Friday. So they're both available under the files section of the class.
Okay, good. Okay, anybody have any other comments or questions right now? If not, then otherwise I'll stop
Stay
the
dry.
meeting. Yeah,
It's not going to be easy.
that's right.
I'm dealing with a little flood right now in my place. So bye.
Oh, really? Your place? It's coming in through the lanai?
It's coming in somewhere. It's not quite clear.
It's raining.
Go get it.
We'll see. Okay.
Okay.
Take care.
So bye, everybody.
Bye.
Aloha.